Everyone had an opportunity to read the minutes. If you have and you're pleased with them, I'd entertain a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion to approve. I hear a second.
Second.
Motion to approve and a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Motion carries. Reports from committee. Beverly?
Audit committee has not met since our initial meeting where we got everybody together of who was gonna be chair and vice chair. We are scheduled to meet March the 16th at 7 p.m. at the mayor's office regarding the FY 22 comptroller's report. And there was only one finding on that, but to my understanding, it has already been resolved. It was just a slight accounting issue with the water department.
Okay. Anything else?
No,
We're
sir.
good?
Sorry.
That's okay. Codes and zoning, David?
Code and zoning will meet on the 15th. Was not able to meet first week like I tried to. Just trying to make sure that Rick Gregory will be there. Now that we've got all that passed, this will be his first meeting with us to kind of hear the committee's thoughts on how we're going to move forward with this project. That'll be the focus of that meeting. That's about it.
Okay.
It's going to be a short agenda depending on how long that discussion goes.
Okay. Leslie Overman has the flu, I think.
She asked me to speak on that.
Okay.
I'm Vice Chairman of that.
You
anyway.
certainly may.
Really, the two decisions that came out of that was a unanimous vote on the paint color of the ambulance to be handled between the mayor and the director of EMS. And then on the decision of what to do with the brush truck, it was I guess it's a 4-to-1 vote on just letting take the full 204,000 and start over. We had kicked the idea around of Blankenship fixing the chassis and being able to use that as a Rescue 1 replacement. And the majority said that no, that's not what they thought should happen. But each one seemed to have their own different reasons for that. So that was that decision.
Did we have a return on what Blankenship said it would cost
24,000.
27,000.
to fix it?
But the frame was bent. And the question, one of the questions that came up was, if everything's not in line, once we start running that thing, you could have transmission and problems. The other thing was, if it didn't line up perfectly, as much as that thing's used, you'd wear out tires, or you could wear out tires.
Well, in the quote, and he has the machine to do it, to straighten the frame back out, and he was gonna replace the whole front suspension. The only thing that we were gonna have to do extra above that 27 was, he was just gonna take off the existing bed on it, so it would be a cabbed rolling chassis. And we would have to pay to have another bed with boxes to suit the storage needs for the rescue. So that was probably we'd have to go to EBS for that.
Do we already have that bid?
We do not already have that bed. I don't know, because that's a Ford and what we have existing is a Chevy. I don't know how the dimensions, if the old bed would mount onto the new truck. So we would probably have to look in getting to a new one. But it still would have come out, in the long run, we probably would have saved about $40,000, but we wouldn't have had any warranty on the drivetrain. And for that reason, I think was the major issue of just go ahead and trash it, and then we'll go get a Rescue 1 down the road.
Plus you would have had 110,000 to apply against the new vehicle, which would have been 230 or 240. So you would have to come up with another 100,000.
Why 110?
You're taking the 30 and the 27 that you're spending on it off the 170 or 174. And that's the amount of money you'd have to apply to a new one.
It was 210 before the 30 came off, and then it was the 170.
Yep.
Correct?
Yep.
What would that truck cost us new, is all I'm asking.
I believe EVS said the one that they have, and I don't know if they still have it, but they had one ready to go. It was a 550 instead of a 450. And I believe that was the 230 quote.
No, I'm talking about if we kept this truck and still went and purchased the other truck, that's what we're talking about here.
Okay.
What would that truck cost us? It's, we're having $57,000 roughly in that truck, is what we'd have
Yeah.
to fixing it. Is what I'm,
So far, what Daniel Harris has brought as far as estimates on just getting a replacement truck for Rescue One, he was looking at getting just a regular half-ton truck, and he was looking at a two-wheel drive, which you can't put the debris blade on the front of that. And those were still looking at 50 and 60,000, but he said the one that was at Wilson Motors had already sold, and he was gonna have to look and try to find other quotes.
is that on state bid?
Yeah. It was a government vehicle sitting on their lot waiting to be, so he was just trying to get a purchase price.
I think 260 is what they're quoted on the 550 that would be ready to go.
So we would have 170 minus 30 for fixing it. So we'd be talking about 140, roughly $1,000
To put on the 260.
towards that.
I was talking with Amy, instead of taking the 30 out of the 174, she said there is money in EMA's budget that they have, the residual from Mark Carmen resigning. So you've got another 30,000 sitting there for that could go over. There's other money in EMS that could go, or in rescue's budget, that you wouldn't have to pull from fund balance to get that repaired.
I mean, that's a 450 heavy duty truck. I know we're not in a place to make those decisions, but it sounds like it was a 4-to-1 vote, but it might be something we really want to pass around, still thinking about that conversation of what is that truck worth to us if it's only cost $27,000 from Seth Blankenship to get fixed. It was an expensive truck up front. You're getting $170,000, $179,000, $180,000 roughly out of it at that point. So you're looking at 150, 140 something that you still got to put towards that other. I know there's some money left over. If we're talking about that, is $57,000 is what we're really talking about right here for that truck? Is it worth $57,000 for us to keep that truck?
I believed it was, but Leslie was very adamant when she gave me her notes that both of those were just recommendations coming out of that subcommittee. We don't have any authority to tell the full committee what to do, so, but that was the recommendation that came from the committee.
I'd like to have some more information on what that would be, because if we're looking at $50,000 to buy a two-wheel drive F-150 is what he said he was looking at. This is an F-450 that we have right now. Might be something
Four-wheel
else.
drive, I mean, it's
Might be something I'll
a
think
beast
about.
of a truck.
Okay, thank you. Finance, Commissioner Gully.
Oh, back at it, sorry. Finance will, of course, meet on our Monday night work session this coming Monday night. Got a few things to discuss there. At this point, we haven't got all those laid out and ready on the agenda. We did meet on the third Monday night in February. Of course, we had some discussions. Those all came out, and all the financial balances and everything of the county looked pretty strong at this point in time. We had good discussion on those pieces. There weren't anything that jumped out until we got, and I know EMS is one that we've talked about here. There was quite a bit of discussion on the EMS conversation about the 80% spent on overtime currently already in that case, and there was some money moved in that last budget. So that's one thing that's still coming our way. Had some discussion there. I know we're looking at, the finance is fixing to get a little busy for a little bit of time here. It's getting that time of year where budgets are going to start coming into play. There's some pieces that, Mr. Potts is going to be trying to get us an early estimate as he can of the penny value, so we can start really having those discussions and get those meetings set. I will certainly work with the mayor, Ms. Amy, in the very near future to try to get an idea on when we want to set those meetings in April to get things moving along. To hopefully get some budget talks and ready to present those pieces.
Have you had any discussion with department heads yet on the budgets or getting to you at a time frame?
I think she's just preparing those to send them out. Yeah. Any further? Commissioner Gully?
No, sir, at this time, I think, we will meet next Monday night to discuss the budget. Agenda will be posted as soon as we can get everything together with that piece. Of course, we won't have purchasing on finance until, that's a quarterly, so that will come up in our, we met in January, so that'll come up in our April meeting.
Okay. Since Officer Burton's not here, we'll go into personnel.
I will mention that Mr. Burton called me and said he was not going to be able to make it tonight.
Okay.
He did not ask me to talk about law enforcement. So,
Okay. Commissioner Dennis?
Yes, sir. Personnel hasn't met since our February meeting. Our next scheduled meeting on March 16th at 6 o'clock. items of discussion be bring back up. Item 7H of personnel policy. Hopefully we'll have enough information to be able to make a recommendation to the full body. That's that.
One question or one issue that continues to come up at EMS and the sheriff's department is our benefits package and the amount of burden that the employees having to carry versus other counties. I'm sure that's been addressed in the past, but
I had the insurance committee, I was the chairman of the insurance the past few years, and we've had a meeting every year and let people come in and discuss, but most of the employees would always want to stay with that state plan they got. That was, they're supposed to get packages that quotes to the mayor, so but most of them decided they want to stay with the state plan.
is it prohibitive, and I'm just asking for the county to share a larger portion of that burden as far as their copay is concerned? Not the copay, but the amount that they're responsible for. I know for a
higher
family,
percentage.
it's like, what, $1,000 a month?
I'd have to look at it today. I know it's.
The
pretty
word's
expensive.
not copay, but you know what I'm talking about.
The premium.
Their premium.
Yeah, their share of the premium.
The county currently, that you're talking about, it's the same thing as a pay raise in that case is what we're really talking about. So if you're carrying more, you're increasing that raise. I thought, and I think I even mentioned this piece, Commissioner Dennis, to something we had talked on in the past, something we looked into, is there a way that we can hopefully even look at co-oping with a different county government, local government similar to, around us that might have a larger number that our group could get co-opted with to improve that cost. I mean, our, Sumner County has their employees go through their own health plan together. They've lumped their schools and county employees are kind of together in Sumner County, so it's benefited the employee there. It would certainly benefit our employees if we could find something that benefits them. Is there a way to increase their, it's a great way to increase the amount of money in their paycheck going home without, it's a pay raise, truthfully. You'll see more dollars in your paycheck going home. So if we can, and that's been something that's mentioned, I've mentioned that as well, just asking EMS individuals that don't work for us, tell me what's needed, what's the issue that what's needed. We were told a pay raise was needed. We took care of the pay raise, but that didn't change things. What's needed? Your benefits are terrible. And when they say that, it means like something we need to start looking at.
And sometimes that's a moving target too.
It's always.
If you satisfy this request, then you got another request.
Well, when you look at insurance, it's gonna go up, premiums are gonna go up every year, plain and simple. So it's gonna be a continuous cost. If you can't just lump it in today and it stays there. That's why a small entity, as we are in that case.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's something that could be done to look into with, maybe even with Dr. Satterfield with schools. What's that? How can those be lumped, or can they be lumped? I don't know if that's a possibility.
I did talk to a guy that I know that's been in the group insurance business for years and years and years about a cooperative. And he said a cooperative, like you're talking about, is kind of a myth. It's nice to talk about, but you can't find one. And in our situation, if we wanted to group with larger counties, we would be the one benefit most to become part of a larger group. And you might run in a situation, well, why would we want to help you?
It is putting more headache on somewhere else.
Yeah.
Not saying it's possible, just.
Something to look into.
For our county.
Yeah. Commissioner Dennis, you have anything else?
Nothing.
Okay. Commissioner Gregory.
We haven't had a meeting since the February meeting either. We do have a meeting scheduled tonight right after this.
Okay.
And I discussed everything at our commission meeting that we've done at our February 9th meeting.
Okay, any other reports? Budget season's coming up. Commissioner Gully, would you like to discuss that any further?
Not at this time. There's not a lot we can really discuss when we don't have any of those pieces coming to us. We don't have a penny value conversation. We don't, I mean, it's in the works, something we're gonna have to see what's penny value. What are our department heads asking for? At this point, I haven't seen any of that shared to me. So when we get some of that information, there'll probably be discussions we can have. I know Mr. Russell, he's asked, Sheriff Russell has asked for four deputies, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. So we know there's gonna be some increases coming our way in requests. With four of those comes four new salaries, 4 new increases there, so
He may be asking for 4 and 3, is what it seems like I remember.
7 total.
Mm.
And,
Is that three?
and they need a new tower.
Dispatchers.
Out in the west part of the county.
He is asking for 3 dispatchers. He did mention that, four on road and 3 dispatchers.
He did tell us last night at Emergency Services, just as a kind of a side note, that he is for the first, in the 4 years now, fully staffed, once he gets this one officer out of the academy. And he's hired, was it 2 more jail, correction officer positions?
I think that's right.
So he's now gonna be fully staffed to his current levels. So the 4 would be in addition to his current full staff.
He's added 4 positions, that's what I was mentioning, yeah, I thought I mentioned that way. He wants to add those 4 and add 3 positions of his dispatchers, is what that would be. That's your 911 board that calls are coming into, that part of this dispatch piece. He spoke as if that was one that is overworking some individuals pretty hard, what he spoke on that one.
So 7 total.
3 dispatchers for
Okay.
Steve Jones, the mayor of Macon County, called me today, and we were just talking about the challenges of the mayor's office. And he was talking about budget season coming up, and he said, we approved something 4 or 5 or 6 years ago for $250,000. And he said, that has just come back up and we got to match it now. And he said, that was $250,000 I wasn't planning on.
Hopefully that's a one-time cost.
Yeah.
Because those can be found, but they're tough.
We did get $50,000 more of new COVID money just in the last week or so, and we get another $50,000 next year. And we didn't apply for it. We don't know where it came from. They just said, here's $50,000. So we're glad to get that.
Put it in the account and let it sit back.
Yep.
For those 225,000 that got approved, we had one of those here 2 years ago where the fire truck had been approved. The new truck had been approved. It was allocated, but yet that money was never put into a capital outlay. So yet here we are looking at hey, we got to come up with $300,000. It was 2 years ago ordered, but it's now ready to go. So we saw that here 2 years ago as well. It can happen
We're
quick. We don't
gonna
think
get
it
some money from this opioid settlement too. And you've got some latitude in how to spend it.
So that's not all sheriff's department. That's
No,
not all?
not all sheriff's department, no. It's public outreach and studies. Planning office.
Before we go that
Sure.
far, budget season we're still on, I know we approved a very tight budget a year ago. So we need to be, thinking about the fact that the commission approved a very tight budget that moved out last year. We were actually told if we did an increase anywhere, we were gonna have to increase the property tax rate at that point. So every piece was that tight. We were, it has worked, but it was a very tight budget.
Yeah.
So.
And
something
we're
to keep in mind.
we're in good financial shape right now, but it's, like you say, it's tight, and I tell people all the time, everybody wants more. Employees want more, the public wants more services, and the taxpayers want more relief.
At the same time, Amy does a really good job of padding the different departments, because with the issues at EMS, when you look at their bottom line, there are barely any issues at all. But when you look at all that overtime,
Yeah.
that's a ton of money that was never budgeted, but was able to be absorbed, so
I would
there is a little
somewhat,
cushion.
I would somewhat disagree that it was budgeted. And the reason I would say it was budgeted is we moved 8 cents into EMS last year out of the, is that the one, it's failing me on number, it's out of our debt services, but I can't think of the number on debt services at this point, 151, I think that's right, 141 school debt, there we go, 151 area. So we moved 8 cents out of debt services last year after some payoffs into EMS. So I think it was padded already up front on, it wasn't just padded, we moved a lot of pennies there, that's a lot of money. 8 cents at $32,000, that's what we're talking about here for the public, $32,000 roughly per penny value, so when you move 8 cents, you move a pretty decent amount of money into that account.
That being said, are you saying that the previous commission actually was planning on having this much overtime at EMS?
I didn't say they were planning on having that much overtime, I think they were padding EMS because they knew it was going to have need, is what it was showing.
I
We
think
didn't add employees, we
Yeah.
didn't change that, so
I
we
think
changed
it
8
was,
cents.
I think it was anticipating not to have EMS come back and ask for more money before next budget year.
Kinda,
You can call it padding, but yeah, it was anticipation, is what I understand.
it was an expectation of what's coming, that's what it looked like. It was, in my opinion, it was we see there's gonna be a problem. We're gonna have to move money over to here, and it was moved.
Because at this point, and like I said, this is my first year being, my first term as a commissioner. That seems to be the first forward thinking I've seen in addressing the employee shortage, was actually the commission looking forward in the budget that, okay, you're gonna have difficulty, so we'll pad that. I've been frustrated at just the lack of urgency from the director's standpoint of going and trying to get more employees. We keep getting answers of, well, I put an ad on Indeed, and come find out Amy put the ad on Indeed. And I can't seem to get him fired up about getting more employees, searching, finding other avenues. He just throws his hands up and says, what am I supposed to do? That's a little frustrating.
I did see where one of our local firefighters just graduated to his score, his MT, so there is some improvements in those areas. We had seen as a budget the year before, if you went back and looked, there was many times that EMS was doing well through the prison in that case, and some things had changed in that Charles Turner policy of how they were moving some of those pieces. So I think it was an anticipation of revenue loss somewhat, is what it was. Unfortunately, that's where we sit today.
Is it something we can look at on, like, instead of salary, paying more toward their insurance, instead of a raise, that, I mean, they can still get more on their, I mean, that's something we've discussed too.
I think it's something
Paying more on the insurance and not asking is, I mean,
It is a salary
I
increase.
said salary increase, but then it shows up, I mean, that's something that needs to be looked at, we've talked about for years too on that.
It puts more money in our employees' pocket, that's what it does.
I'm not sure what, from the planning office, I can't make any comments on what transpired last week, but I can say that Ms. Rosalie is gonna man the office going forward, and the state is sending us 3 different inspectors, one from Putnam County, one from DeKalb, and one from Macon County to cover us. And it's not gonna cost the county any extra money, because the state will collect whatever fee on that basis. By the way,
So what fee will the state collect?
what's when they,
Impact fee?
no, not the impact fee,
So are you talking about the permit fees?
permit fee, yep. And one of them has said it'd be 50%, so we'll get that. Of course, that's gonna be based on a salary we're not paying right now. Smith County has a flat fee that the builder pays, and then the state does all their permits. So they are not issuing permits out of an office. Does that make sense?
It does, but we've never done it that way.
Is that the way they've always done
I know.
it? Is that the way they've always done it, or have they changed it?
And we just put in fee increases
Yeah.
to help that office out, so.
That was for zoning though.
I just thought that's
Some of
interesting,
it, some was-
that the state does it and collects a permit fee, and so is it necessary to have someone in that office to issue permits? I'm just asking.
Be interested to see how much dollars we're talking about in that line item, because that in the past has had some, your impact fees, your other pieces have gone, well, is what we're talking about here. We're really talking about those fees would be going to pay towards the state. Be interested to see.
I think
how
in
that
Smith
numbers
County,
work.
it's $750 up front for the builder,
And that's supposed to cover the,
and then the state
States.
charges a fee to come in and issue permits.
charges the builder that fee.
And so that money doesn't even go through the office, it goes straight to the state. I just thought it was worth looking into.
Like something to
I
hear,
I
see
can
some
get
numbers
with
on.
Amy and try to see what the cost is coming out of that department versus what we're collecting in fees. And yeah, we can take care of that on our 15th meeting. I'll add that to the agenda.
Yes,
Again, he said basically what I was gonna say, that office, if it's a revenue stream, then obviously we don't want the state to handle it, we need to do it ourselves, but if it's a liability, might be something good to let somebody else do, and then we don't have to pay the difference.
someone told me, I call it mayor training when they had us in Nashville, that if you can outsource as much as possible, it makes it a lot easier.
We have benefit cost, you have,
And cleaner.
that we're talking about here, and those other pieces. So, you spoke of, is that office gonna be open now?
Yes.
So open doors, open office?
And we have given her permission temporarily to sign off on the documents that have to be signed off on. but we have 3 certified state inspectors come in and do the inspecting.
She is on full-time, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So somebody needs a final done in the next week or so, somebody from the, who comes and gives the final sign off.
One of these inspectors
Well, they-
is covered, yeah. We have good relationships with all of them, so. And I've already had some companies reach out that said, if you're gonna hire somebody, and Steve was calling me today, Steve Jones, to say, how long will you need my person? And I told him we we're gonna try to do this fairly expeditiously, moving on.
But it gives us time to make the right choice there,
Mhm.
look at the pieces, is it a revenue stream, is it not a revenue stream?
But I mean, this would be the time to investigate that.
And currently, when you look at that revenue stream, things get lost in the exiting individual there had a cap, salary cap due to his army piece, due to his service
Mhm.
piece. So he capped, he would not take more than $45,000. So that thing's gonna cost us more than that.
For his
Pull it down, so we-
certifications, Amy's saying he should have been closer to 70,000.
Any other? Good night. Anybody?
Good talk.
Jack, there was one other thing under planning. Talking with a couple of people who've got permits, building houses and whatnot, their concern was with us having multiple inspectors now coming in to help,
Mhm.
that they would have multiple inspectors coming through their property doing inspections. One inspector, might have a focus on one code versus another.
Consistency.
Consistency
Mhm.
of having one inspector come through per project.
Okay.
So if there's anything we can do to kind of help facilitate that through Rosalie, that would be.
Yeah, and I've talked to her about, let's make this as smooth a transition as possible.
Yeah.
And she's agreed to do that. And she's very enthusiastic about doing this job. As a matter of fact, she's even talked about being certified in the state to be maybe a candidate for the job going forward, so, which would be okay. Anything else? Any other business, other discussion?
We have 1 or 2 off the planning commission design, has anybody put in, or have you got any recommendations coming up?
I'll have recommendations for the next work session.
As far as BZA, have you got any?
Got somebody in mind, I'll have that at the next work session too.
Okay.
Anything else? Any other? No one here for public comment? Entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I'll second.
Second, this motion is not debatable. All in favor, say aye.
Ah,
All opposed?
sounds
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.